Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Austin Dillon, for the second year in a row, disrupts the playoff picture, wins at Richmond Raceway, grabs his second straight technical win at Richmond. Ahead of Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Team Penske sweeping the top five. Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, the top 10. In a race that was, many people thought Denny Hamlin was going to dominate this race. He had some issues. Christopher Bell wasn't quite as good as everybody thought. Second straight year, Austin Dillon is the best in Richmond. We talked about him extensively on last week's episode. But yeah, definitely shakes up the playoff picture quite a bit. We could now see Alex Bowman or possibly even Tyler Reddick miss out on these playoffs this year. And now heading into Daytona in the season finale this weekend, we have all three RFK cars as of now are out of the playoffs with one race to go in this regular season. But first, we're talking about Richmond. Everybody talking about how good of a race that was due to the tire fall off, due to the strategies. Nick, was it really that good, or was it just recency bias for how bad these races have been before this?
A little both. It was definitely better than all the racing we've seen lately, but
yeah,
I mean, it almost feels a little manufactured in that it's like it's only because of tire fall off rather than actual racing. Like, you pretty much can't race a guy if you're on worse tires, and you pretty much can't, if you're on equal tires, it's still pretty darn hard to pass. So it feels a little manufactured. I mean, certainly there were some guys that struggled more. Like you saw Kyle Larson at the start fall back from 30th to 33rd. So there was passing through the field, things like that. But it feels a little manufactured just from the tires, right? It doesn't feel like the natural racing we used to have where if you were faster, you could pass somebody. It feels like you just need a tire differential to pass somebody. And so, it was a good race. I voted yes, but I slightly teetered on whether I voted yes or no, simply because I do agree. I think it was a little bit of recency bias. I don't think the race was as good as it got in the poll, like 80 whatever percent. And I think it got that high simply because people have been clamoring for something a little more exciting than what we've seen lately. But at the same time, it wasn't a bad race.
Right. Yeah, that was my first takeaway. Like as I talked about in last week's episode, I enjoy Richmond. I like the different strategies that play out, stuff like that. But I do think everyone, saying how awesome Richmond is and Richmond needs 4 dates next year. Like, no, like it's Richmond. We know what's going to happen. But yeah, to me, it was just, these races have been so bad before this that it kind of just shook everybody up to really enjoy it. Good call by you last week. Ryan Blaney comes away with a podium finish. You said he'd finally figure out Richmond, and he seems to have. He had one of the best long run cars all race, ended up finishing third, led 39 laps. Really good race for him. And as I said, Team Penske, really good races overall. Other news out of Richmond, William Byron wraps up the regular season points championship. He'll get those 15 playoff points. He will have nothing to race for at Daytona outside of a win. So I know we talked about during the episode last week, potentially Byron could be one of those guys that, could be having a weird strategy play here at Daytona coming up. All he has to do is go out and go for the win here because he has wrapped up that regular season points championship.
Yeah. I mean, just as far as Richmond goes and how it affects the standings and just everything. I mean, last year, Austin Dillon's win didn't affect the playoff standings because he got it taken away. This year, it definitely changes things, but Alex Bowman, super strong race. If he had more laps, he probably would have caught Austin Dillon. But again, it was kind of manufactured, right? He pitted later than Austin Dillon and had much fresher tires, even pitted later than Blaney. And that's just kind of Richmond as a whole. I think it's something to file away for the strategy bank. Anytime we saw a driver early pit, not only, of course, you get out early because you get your fresher tires sooner, but you're able to maintain track position as long as the run stayed green. For example, we saw Kyle Larson finish stage 1 like 17th, even though he came in 33rd, and he wasn't really losing spots to people who came in 5 or 6 laps later. It was only if a yellow came out and then there was a big tire differential and you were all packed back up. But same thing we saw with Austin Dillon. He pitted a few laps for Blaney. Blaney comes out, it was like 6 or 8 seconds behind Austin Dillon, only closes it to 3 and had to use up all his tire just to get there, and ended up falling back. So again, it's a little manufactured, but it also, should we come with the same tire combination to Richmond next year, I mean, that's something to file away. The early pitting was really successful because it was so hard to pass later in a run. And we kind of saw that in the final stage as well with Carson Hocevar, where he did a 4 stints, three stop strategy, 4 stints, and everybody else did 2 stops, 3 stints. Hocevar just couldn't make it back through the field. He was just having enough trouble once his tires started going of passing cars. So it's still really tough to pass, especially as those tires age. And I think short pitting is going to be the very preferred strategy at Richmond. You just also need to, not get an unlucky yellow with those as well.
Yeah, exactly. But even with that information, I'm sure we'll have crew chiefs that make idiotic pit calls and try to get cute.
Yeah, but no, great race for Alex Bowman. But the problem is he still needs to essentially win Daytona. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the best way to ensure you make the playoffs is to win Daytona and not give a chance for a new winner at Daytona. So Alex Bowman's going to be one of those gunning for a win.
Yeah, for sure. And with the rest of his teammates locked in, could we see some not race manipulation, but definitely some help there.
I think when we talk Daytona, we're gonna be talking about help.
Yep. So some big names here at Richmond that had some issues. Chase Elliott finished dead last after that we had the big one at Richmond. That happened. Ryan Preece had a bad race. Tyler Reddick finished 34th, even though he won the first stage. Bubba Wallace looked to have the best car all night. Didn't really talk about him. Didn't mention him yet. He got the Jordan jinx last week because I bet him top 10 after practice and qualifying.
I had one of the best cars before practice and qualifying top 10.
I was going to say, you talked him up all week last week.
Yeah.
And he did. He had one of the best cars all race. And then,
he was the best car. He was better than Austin Dillon. He just lost the wheel on pit road.
Yep, exactly. And ended up with a 28th place finish. But yeah, Bubba finished second in stage 1, first in stage 2. Definitely would have contended for the win, if not won it. But it did, like I said, William Byron wrapped up the regular season points championship, but we still have to figure out the rest of the top 5 and the rest of everything else for these playoff points. So right now, Chase Elliott's 68 points behind. Hamlin's only 5 points behind him. Larson's 7 behind Hamlin. Blaney's 3 behind Larson, and then Bell is 8 behind Ryan Blaney. So from Chase Elliott to Christopher Bell is 23 points, and that's separating second through 6th in the point standings, which is a huge thing with these playoff points that are going to get awarded after Daytona. And again, not to get too far forward here and talk about Daytona, but it's a big thing. These Chase Elliott falling back has now, Hamlin could easily end up second in points, as could Larson, as could Blaney, as could Bell, depending on how this next weekend goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of it's both a fixed situation as far as like the points, and it's also like a non-fixed situation because I think like theoretically Chris Buescher could tie Alex Bowman if he wins every stage, wins the race, and gets the fastest lap, and Bowman finishes dead last. I think theoretically they tie on points, but Bowman has the tiebreaker over Buescher anyway. Although I guess he wouldn't with a win. Buescher would get the tiebreaker in that case. So I mean, there's pretty much nothing there, but Bowman could pass Reddick in the points. And if we get a new winner, all of a sudden Reddick's out. And then everybody from Buescher back is racing for a win, So there's a lot of stuff going on here as far as the points and just the way things will shake out, and team strategies at Daytona. But it boils down to this. If you're Alex Bowman or below, you're going for the win. If you're anybody who's in the points, you're either going for the win or you're helping one of your teammates get into the playoffs. And if you're Tyler Reddick, you're kind of either going for the win or pushing Alex Bowman to the win. Because if you push Bowman to the win, and you're right there with him, he's not
You're
passing
in.
you in points.
Right.
And he takes away a new winner. So, like, Tyler Reddick is Alex Bowman's biggest fan as far as winning the race. Maybe not as far as passing him in points.
Yeah, this can easily turn into just a wild situation coming up at Daytona, just depending on how the race plays out and where we're at the end and what these teams are going to do. Because obviously, you know, to sit here and say that Tyler Reddick has a chance to miss the playoffs this year is wild. And as you know me, I root for chaos, and that's exactly what I'm rooting for this year. I'm hoping Tyler Reddick blows an engine on lap 1. We get a new winner, and
Cody Ware wins. Yep.
Yeah, something crazy.
Imagine if Cody Ware is in the playoffs and Tyler Reddick isn't. Like, it could happen. Like, I legitimately think Cody Ware can win this race. He'll need the carnage, but I mean, he's finished 9th and 4th or something, or in the last two in the two next gen. What is it called? Next gen cutoff races at Daytona, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, 6th and 4th, not 9th and 4th. His average finish is 5.0 in the next gen car in this Coke 0400.
Yeah, which is just crazy. Because I mean, I saw your bet yesterday going. You had a little IndyCar Cody Ware parlay.
Yeah, love that parlay.
Who was it? Newgarden and Cody Ware top 10. Newgarden to win. Cody Ware top 10. But before we move on, any sticking points from Richmond? Anything that surprised you?
Sticking points from Richmond? No, I don't really think too much surprised me. Richmond
tends to be one of the more predictable races.
It really does.
You know, like, I feel like we broke it down pretty well last week. You know, I guess maybe SVG probably had a little bit better race than I thought he would. He ended up finishing 14th.
Yeah, his 27th tied best oval finish of the year. I agree, that was surprising. But if we think about it, he's been really good on that tire combination. When you look at not Martinsville, but the All-Star race and Bowman Gray, he was good at both of those. And I shouldn't say the All-Star race itself, but the qualifying race or whatever. So that's a mental note of something to keep for Shane Van Gisbergen. Even heading to Martinsville later this year, maybe he finally figures it out. And I think he's had some good Martinsville runs in Xfinity. I want to double check that before I'm talking out of my ass. But he had an 11th at Martinsville in his first Xfinity race there, 28th in his second. And I think last year, he ran Martinsville 2 and he finished 12th. Actually, his best oval finish, non-drafting oval finish of his career came at Martinsville. And that was last year when he was part-time.
Another guy that had a good run was Daniel Suarez. He ended up finishing 7th. Now, you remember last year's August race at Richmond. He led 93 laps. He won the stage, but that was also because he did the alternate tire strategy.
Yeah.
This was no alternate tire strategy. This was a legitimate, solid run for Daniel Suarez, which I don't think we can say has happened in a long time. So that was another one that, kind of stood out to me as a bit surprising. I didn't see Suarez being that good. He used to be good here early in his career. He was with Joe Gibbs Racing, Stuart Haas Racing. He had some good runs here. But overall, that one kind of stuck out to me too. Suarez and SVG were the two big surprises for me as far as, just good races at Richmond last weekend.
And I'll say on the flip side, it kind of came at the expense of not Suarez and SVG, but just there was a little bit at the expense of, I thought Kyle Larson, he finished 6th, but he wasn't a 6th place car. No. He definitely got a lot of strategy benefit. When he short pitted, the race stayed green, and when he long pitted, he caught the caution. So it worked out well for him to finish 6th, but he was definitely not a top 6 car. And Christopher Bell was just
not good.
He wasn't bad. Like in the first stage, I thought he was kind of a borderline top 10 car, but that's not what you're expecting from Bell here. And he ended up finishing 21st, and it wasn't good, especially in the second half of the race. But I'm not too surprised by Suarez. Like you said, he was good here earlier in his career. But I think, the biggest prize for me, besides SVG, was Larson just being bad. And I thought after practice and qualifying, you're looking at lap times and stuff, and it's really hard to tell because Richmond Group 1 was really good on the short run because they had the green track and then fell off hard on the long run. And then Group 2 was slower on the short one, but really good on the long run. And so you don't know how exactly to adjust the practice groups for that. But I thought Larson completely closed and and surpassed Rowdy in lap times, because we saw Rowdy lead 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 lap averages. But Larson literally tied Rowdy on 30 lap and surpassed him on 35 lap average when Rowdy came in to make his pit stop. And after Rowdy made his pit stop, Larson was still better on equal age tires. So I thought Larson was the best in Group 1A, whatever you want to call it. And he just, I guess the groups were also indicative of just your speed. And that maybe, what if Larson was in Group 2 for practice? Would he have gotten a better sense of the track conditions earlier?
Definitely something to think about. And also Group 2 had that weird or they had the cautions too that threw it all off. Like practice was a bit of a hard one to analyze this past weekend.
Yeah, and I talked about it. Like, I think these short tracks, while there's an abundance of data, A, there's traffic, and B, just things happen and it becomes a little harder to analyze practice data. It was really tough because the track conditions changed a lot from Group 1 to Group 2. And I have a mathematical way of doing the adjustment. And the mathematics told me that the adjustment was really minor, simply because it wasn't a clear-cut benefit for one group versus the other. It was like, okay, Group A had the faster short run speed, the green track, but did the fact that they had all that grip and stuff in the green track come back to bite them on the long run? And it kind of told, just the data itself said, yeah, they probably fell off more than expected relative to what if they had run in Group 2. So I thought the groups in terms of, actual times were, in terms of flags, it's a pure mathematical adjustment. I don't adjust it myself based on how I feel or anything like that. But it was one of those where, there was super minor group adjustments, but that's it. And I don't know. It was a hard one to use practice. And I think that's the case in short tracks in general, road courses in general, for the completely opposite reason that we get very few laps. Intermediates are like where the bread and butter for practice is at right now.
For sure. Yeah. And like I said, Richmond, super predictable track. So it's don't shy away from the history of Richmond. We know who's good there. We know who's going to be fast. One final takeaway before we get on to the point standings, man, Penske, they're going to win this fucking championship again. Like, as soon as all three of these guys did not qualify well, and then they're running top 5, man, I got that feeling in my gut. Penske's going to win this damn championship again.
Yeah, maybe. Richmond's never been Christopher Bell's best track. I think Christopher Bell is going to have a really strong chance of winning this championship. Hendrick kind of seems like they're going, especially Larson, maybe a little bit of Byron and Elliott, seem like they're going through that typical Hendrick testing phase right before the playoffs, which is why Bowman was the best one, right? Because he's the one that's actually taken this most serious as far as like setups and trying to win. So I don't know. I think it's too much to read into it right now, especially given how different Richmond and Phoenix are with tire wear. But yeah, it certainly is a good omen for Penske, to be running this well at Richmond, because we have a bunch of short tracks. I don't think it's totally true. I saw iFantasy Race's tweet, like, if you have a bad Richmond, you're only a pretender for the championship. I don't really completely buy into that. I don't think Christopher Bell's suddenly a pretender for the championship because he didn't have a good Richmond run. But I think it's the opposite. I think if you have a really good Richmond, you kind of prove yourself as a contender. I think it goes the opposite way.
Yeah, Bell, I don't know if it was, they just couldn't make adjustments or what, because they started out pretty good and then they just kind of got worse as the night went on. And yeah, that was just a weird one.
You know what I'll say though? It kind of makes Bubba Wallace a contender for the championship.
And you know what? Are you reading my mind or what? Because I just pulled up the championship odds. Bubba Wallace is sitting at 50-1 with SVG to win this championship. And I mean, Denny Hamlin, I think, said it on his podcast. I'm pretty sure it was his podcast. But he basically said Bubba's outrunning Reddick this year, if you think about it. And you look at stage points this year, and we've talked about this extensively all year. Bubba Wallace is at 162 now, okay? Yep. Kyle Larson has 168.
Yep.
Denny Hamlin has 176. Chase Elliott has 141.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace is right there.
Yep.
Right there. And as crazy as it seems, I do not hate betting Bubba Wallace 50-1 to win this championship. I mean, it's decent odds already because he's in the championship out of 16 guys. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the better bet is instead of to win the championship, if you can find him to make the round of 4 to win or to make the championship round. Because if I'm looking at Bet365, they have Bubba Wallace 33-1. It's not as good, but they have a bet to like make the round of 4.
Make the 4.
Yes, no's on those. And Bubba Wallace is plus 550 to make the round of 4, which would be the Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville round. If I can find a place that has to make the championship round, I'd be interested in that as well. But Bubba Wallace, all he has to do is not have a horrible Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol, and he'll be in contention to make the next round. He can win Kansas. He can win New Hampshire if Richmond's any indication. I mean, he's already won Kansas. We do know 23-11 struggled a little bit lately at Kansas, but if they recapture that form, Bubba Wallace can advance through the next round. I actually think the first 2 rounds are his hardest 2 rounds, right? Like Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville is the perfect round for him. If he makes it to the round of 4, or the round of 4. So why does it say the round of 4? I guess that is the championship round. But yeah, if he makes the round of 8, the semifinal round, whatever you want to call it, the third round of the playoffs, it almost feels like he's a lock to make the final 4 just because of how good he is at all 3 of those.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I can't find the any more of the to make the final 4 right now. I know like Bet Rivers does that as well. Actually, here it is. They do have it. Bubba Wallace also plus 550 on there. But as much as I do like to claim recency bias on stuff, obviously Bubba Wallace has been running really well here lately, top 8 and 4 of the last 5 races, and had the best car at Richmond. But no, he has had speed, legitimate speed all year, and I truly believe he can make the final 4. Like I'm fully on board with that. So I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm glad you brought that up. That was just one thing that stood out to me as I was just browsing odds early this week. Is they have SVG and Bubba Wallace same odds to win the championship, and like give me a head-to-head on the playoffs. I'd love that if they're both minus 110. Give me a head-to-head on who's finishing higher in these or in the final standings. But yeah, I think Bubba's having a great year and not getting enough credit for it, because we talk about the number of DNFs that Blaney has and how great he would be and how great of a season he'd be having if those didn't happen. It's the same exact thing for Bubba Wallace. He's 10th in points with 6 DNFs.
Yeah, I mean, Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman, right? Without the bad luck, I mean, I think both would be ahead of Reddick and Briscoe pretty clearly. They'd be right behind Christopher Bell, which shows how good they've been. I mean, I took a picture and posted a tweet of Alex Bowman with a 9-race stretch where he finished 27th or worst in 7 of those 9 races. Without that stretch, he's Chase Elliott this year.
You're right. Yep.
So it's pretty crazy. But it's the same thing with Bubba Wallace. Without a lot of bad luck, there was a 3-race stretch from Texas to Charlotte. There was a 4-race stretch from Pocono to Sonoma. And then a couple other early season DNFs, the Phoenix one, which wasn't his fault, and of course Daytona. But with a little bit better luck, I mean, he's not up there with Chase Elliott and where Alex Bowman would be, but I mean, he's in the neighborhood of Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, with his DNFs. So, yeah, I mean, I think Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace, and I agree with Denny Hamlin. I think Bubba Wallace is outrunning Tyler Reddick right now. I think these guys would be, Alex Bowman would be top 5 in the championship, and Bubba Wallace would be he would be 7th, 8th in the championship behind those 6 current, and then Alex Bowman and then him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on as we get these playoffs started and everything. But anything else from Richmond for you before we analyze these standings a little bit more?
No, I think we're good. I mean, Richmond's Richmond, right? So
Absolutely.
just glad Austin Dillon winning didn't come by playing pinball this time. I mean,
I am. You know what my one regret from last week was? Because I think I remember talking to you before the episode. I was going to go, Austin Dillon's my 36 or 36, and he's going to be my pick to win. And then I switched it to Denny Hamlin. I would have just stuck with my gut. I would have got another win in our picks to win. But
yep.
Oh well. All right. William Byron wraps up the regular season point standings, as I said before. A couple noteworthy things: Keselowski and Ty Gibbs are 19th and 17th in points. Little nugget there with how bad their season started. But overall, the only thing we have to look at this week is the playoff picture. We got 14 guys locked in, 2 spots left, 1 race left. Reddick has a 29-point lead on Bowman, which can be evaporated quite quickly. Other than that, everyone's just win and get in. And Bowman made a comment after Richmond. I think he said that every single race at Daytona has had a new winner. I did not fact check that. It doesn't seem right, but it could be right. I could be wrong. But at the end of the day, we have an unpredictable race this Saturday night at Daytona. 2 spots left in the playoffs. And anybody could get in. This is Daytona. Anybody can get in. But Austin Dillon locked in. All the other guys that were previously locked in are in. So yeah. Are you surprised by Byron winning this championship and locking it up?
Regular season championship, you mean?
Yeah, this early, I guess.
No. I mean, Denny Hamlin missed a race because of the birth of his child.
Yep.
And we know Larson, man. I mean, Larson, he's got one of the craziest upsides, but the problem is his downside. He's not really built for a strict points championship in some ways because he has so much ability to just go over the edge and make mistakes like we saw at Charlotte, which killed his race. We've seen it at other places as well, where he goes over the edge too much. Byron and Elliott are so incredibly consistent, and honestly, so is Bowman without the bad luck. Bowman's incredibly consistent, maybe at a slightly lower level than Byron and Elliott. But again, like I said, Bowman might be right there with Elliott if he didn't have his bad luck streak. So, no, I'm not surprised. I think Byron's more talented than Elliott, and the two are relatively consistent. The big difference is the stage points. Byron is just, 100 plus stage points ahead of Chase Elliott. As far as finishing, Elliott is more consistent, but Byron has more upside, but also has a little bit less downside. And he's just been so much more consistent. I mean, Byron, 241 stage points. The next most is Ryan Blaney with 216. That's 25-point gap over anyone. That's 2.5 stage wins.
Yeah, it's wild how I think I mentioned it last week with Byron is if his team's on it and he has track position, he's tough to pass, and yeah, he's just so consistent. He doesn't make mistakes, and that's what it takes to at least win the regular season championship. Now, is that enough to win the whole thing? Maybe he could get there. He could get to the Final Four, but I think no matter who else is in that Final Four outside of a crazy, freaking, Austin Cindric, SBG and Austin Dillon Final Four, and then William Byron, I would venture to say that, if there's a normal Final Four and William Byron's part of it, he's probably still not going to be the favorite heading into Phoenix race weekend. But it also wouldn't be surprising to see him win it all. But as far as just like an actual favorite, not quite there on Byron. Just because he doesn't have that upside. He doesn't have, just that for it.
But, those 5 playoff points help a lot versus first versus second, right? In terms of the regular season standings, 15 versus 10, I think it is. And then you look at the battle for second. I mean, Christopher Bell could still finish second if he goes out and finishes top 2 or 3, and Elliott wrecks out early, and Hamlin finishes mid-pack, and Christopher Bell and also stage points are in the mix. I mean, the battle for second is important because you could fall from second to 6th or go up from 6th to 2nd, and all of a sudden that's a 5-point swing right there as well. I think it's 10 for 2nd and 5 for 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you look at the locked-in playoff points as of now. Chase Elliott, who's sitting second in points heading into this race, only has 6. A guy like Denny Hamlin has 24. Larson has 23. That'd be a huge swing also for like Ryan Blaney, who has 11.
Yeah.
Hamlin and Larson are sitting pretty good. Obviously, Byron's sitting good. He's going to end up with at least 32. But this is a big race for Chase Elliott to wrap up that second place in points to get those 10 points. So 10 playoff points. So it's
kind of a big race for Bubba Wallace to, not fall below Chris Buescher, not fall below Joey Logano. Any extra playoff point matters. He's probably not catching Bowman at this point. I mean, it's a 40 whatever point difference, 46 point difference. But if he can maintain ahead of Buescher and Logano, he grabs an extra playoff point just by staying in 10th.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so many storylines heading up for Daytona this weekend, and what can all shake out. And as always,
I think that can kind of allude to some things we might see in this race. Bubba Wallace is going to try to grab 10 stage points in stage 1. He's going to try to grab 10 stage points in stage 2. Buescher doesn't really care about stage points because he's not going to get in anyway unless he has an absolutely perfect race and Bowman finishes dead last. And even then, I'm actually not even sure about the mathematics behind it because I haven't looked. But Bubba Wallace has every incentive to try to go win stage 1 and win stage 2 to stay in that top 10 in points. And so does Joey Logano to try to get into that top 10 in points.
And with that, with Bubba's, going all out for stages, that increases the chances of him getting overly aggressive and potentially wrecking out as well, because he has nothing to lose, in everything to gain. Like he can fall out of the top 10 in points. I understand that, but it's more advantageous for him to go for it, try to get those points and stay in the top 10. Whereas if he wrecks out, he's still in the playoffs, it's not a big deal. So that's going to, in addition to how important this Daytona race is and how aggressive people are going to be to get the win, there's also that aspect of it that we could see the aggression early on in the early stages, which could cause wrecks, which just, fuels this final race of the season dynamic of, just unpredictability at Daytona. And it's going to be a wild one.
It's going to be awesome. Like if you're Bubba Wallace, you cannot ride around and let Joey Logano get 19 stage points or 16 stage points. Cause all of a sudden, he's right there with you in points. And then it comes down to who finishes better, essentially. Bubba has a little bit of an edge. And if Bubba wrecks out and Joey doesn't in all the chaos, Bubba's not getting that playoff point. So the best way to assure he gets the playoff point is go out and win those stages. So, I'm looking at stage bets right now. I see him 16-1 at both Caesars and Bet365 for stage 1. I like that. I like it. I might bet it myself. I didn't really think about it until now, but I certainly don't hate it.
Absolutely. You ready to just move on to Daytona right now, or you want to go a little bit more into these standings? I feel like they meshed very well together.
The only other thing I'll say about these standings are, and it's going to depend on who makes the playoffs and who doesn't, but it feels like a little bit like a 2-horse race between Ryan Preece and Chris Buescher for 17th in the standings.
You don't think Kyle Busch could get there?
I mean, he's almost a full race back of Preece, and Preece has been better this year, flat out better. He could get there, but honestly, Buescher should have 655 points, not 625, because he got that 30-point. It was a 60-point. Now it got reduced to 30-point penalty for being illegal, I believe it was. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a great race for 17th, unfortunately, this year, unless Alex Bowman gets knocked out, and we get a new winner and Bowman has a horrible Daytona and closes the gap to Buescher. But it might be a 2 or 3 horse race for 17th in points this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, obviously nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's for sure. I mean, we're talking about Tyler Reddick potentially missing the playoffs this year right now after, a month and a half ago, we were like, yeah, there's no chance. Like Reddick's going to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on there as well.
What if Buescher wins? Bowman wrecks out. Or sorry, no. Buescher wins. Bowman passes Reddick in points, who wrecks out somehow. Then Priest wrecks out. Then all of a sudden we have we have a 115 point gap. No, 123 point gap from Reddick to Priest for 17th in points.
Yeah, just not insurmountable, but
yeah,
close.
So I guess there's a scenario where 17th is basically guaranteed to be Reddick. And hello, Cat.
That's awesome. All right, Daytona this weekend, Saturday night race. Hopefully no rain. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it. But as always, we're looking at the high potential for chaos, the high potential for surprise. I know you have a few bets this weekend. What have you taken advantage of with these early betting lines for Daytona?
Yeah, just picking off the longest odds when I see them on. I wouldn't say any long shot, but certain long shots I definitely really like. I actually really like Ty Dillon. He almost won his dual race. He got that wrong push from his teammate Allmendinger, but if he had gotten that, he would have won his. If their bumpers had aligned better and the speeds had aligned better, he'd have won the dual race at Daytona. He was starting on the front row in that final restart, and he was in contention, running inside the top whatever at, I believe it was Talladega number 1 earlier this year. I'll have to double check which one it was, but I know Ty Dillon's been running near the front at least one other actual super speedway non-exhibition race this year. I'm trying to pull up the data now. Let me go to super speedway. He's led laps. He led 3 laps of the Daytona 500. He led a lap at Talladega. His average running position has been pretty good. His average running position was 13th at Atlanta, which is 13.0 or whatever is actually like a top 10-ish average running position. Right. He's been really good at super speedways, and we've seen him, have some runs where he's finished 3rd or 4th or 6th at super speedways with Germain Racing. He has 4 top 6 finishes with Germain Racing. We saw when he was with Legacy in 2022, the first year of the next gen, he finished 11th. I bet him top 10 and top Chevy in that race. He finished 11th in the Daytona 500, getting passed by Chase Elliott by a nose for both the top Chevy and the top 10 right at the line. This kid's good. He's good at super speedways. He just finished 8th at a drafting track at the most recent Atlanta race. 100-1 was too long. Then we look at Noah Gragson. Noah Gregson's had multiple chances to win super speedway races. We know Noah Gragson, when there's all these potential team dynamics going on for the playoffs, and will Hendrick just all push Alex Bowman to the win, things like that. Former motorsports drivers are out for themselves. They all need a win to get in the playoffs, and we know Noah Gregson's maybe the most selfish driver out there. He's certainly not going to give anybody any breaks on the last lap or two if he's in position. And he's been in position before at super speedways. I took Justin Haley 80-1. Justin Haley was leading this race when the rain hit in 2022 and caused the whole field to wipe out. And then I took Eric Jones at 60-1 when Bet365 and Hard Rock had that. Eric Jones, well, what can I say about him at super speedways? He's been awesome.
You know who I haven't made any outright bets to win. I typically don't. I just like a lot of Daytona races, Talladega races, I don't really bet a lot outside of like long shot top tens. I like those. But you know what caught my eye? Austin Dillon going back to back to end the regular season, 50-1. Nope. Don't like it.
RCR has basically stated they're all pushing Kyle Busch to the win.
Oh, did they?
I mean, not in explicit terms, but it's pretty clear. Unless Kyle Busch is out, Austin Dillon is pushing Kyle Busch to the win. He's not going to take the win from Kyle Busch. I think the same thing goes for Austin Hill, which is why, I love him as a super speedway drafting track racer, but Austin Hill has two problems. Everybody hates him except his own teammates. So nobody's going to work with him. And he's going to be pushing Kyle Busch to the win. Too. What was that?
They might even hate him too, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair. But, and he's, so nobody's going to work with him. And if anybody's working with him, it's him working with Kyle Busch, pushing him to the win. So, I don't like the Austin Dillon bet at 50-1, just because of the situation. Now, that said, if Kyle Busch wrecks out and Austin Dillon's fine, 51 becomes a nice value, but it's 50-50 chance Kyle Busch wrecks out. It's 50-50 chance Austin Dillon wrecks out. I mean, essentially it's a coin flip, whether you survive these chaos races or not, stay on the lead lap. I tweeted a stat about it earlier. More than half the field has not finished on the lead lap at Daytona cutoff races.
Which this race is just so chaotic. I mean, we look at the winners at Daytona in the next gen era. William Byron has 2 wins. Harrison Burton has a win. Austin Dillon has a win. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has a win. Cindric and Buescher. Those are the winners in the next gen era at Daytona. Obviously we saw Harrison Burton win this race last year and get into the playoffs, and, live during the race with, 10-20% of the field wrecked out. He was still 1,000-1 live on some books. I remember some people getting that last year. But this is one of those weeks where I'm not big into betting. I will say though, Todd Gilliland to win the pole, 22-1.
Yeah.
I will sprinkle that. I will bet that. That's not even a sprinkle. I will bet that. I have bet that.
I'm not betting polls. I've retired from betting polls.
I know.
But
I know you're done betting
Penske, FRM, or Josh Berry type car at 20 plus almost. You got to bet.
Yeah, I will always have a soft spot for Front Row Motorsports and qualifying at Daytona and Talladega, just because McDowell last year winning me so much money. So, and of course, I'm going to bet on Gilly. If I have a chance to bet on Gilly, I'm going to do it.
So I'm very curious about Ford's strategy this weekend, because I recorded Running Hot with Stevie earlier this week, and he indicated Ford's focus is getting one of those RFK cars in the playoffs, especially knowing Logano, Blaney, and Cindric are all locked in, and Barry. But those guys are actually affiliated with FRM, not RFK, right? So is RFK plus Custer kind of on their own in the Ford camp? I mean, is Joey Logano really going to sacrifice himself to push Brad Keselowski to a win rather than take 5 playoff points himself?
No way.
So I don't know what to feel about the Fords. I think the RFK cars will work together, of course, including Cole Custer. And if they can get themselves 1, 2, 3, 4 going in the last lap or two, then it's every man for themselves. But I do think they'll work together really well this weekend. But I don't know how I feel about the whole Ford camp. I mean, early in the race, yeah, whatever. But even then, you can't sacrifice track position because it's been so hard to pass at these super speedway races, especially, Daytona is at most 3 lanes typically. You can sometimes squeeze a 4th lane in there. But we just seen how hard it is to pass in these next-gen cars. It's not the super speedway racing of old. So you need that track position. And I just think, I don't necessarily think it behooves you to just be running the 9th or 8th or 12th Ford just to push Chris Buescher or Brad Keselowski to a win.
Yeah, and someone like Logano, I mean, it also, would you want to push Buescher to a win just because, would you rather have Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was gonna say, would you rather have like a Bowman in there? But you probably wouldn't want to have Bowman over Busher. That's a tough one. That's a
It's tough.
one. But
Yeah.
there's so many
But would you
aspects.
push Priest to a win versus, having Bowman in the
But he,
playoffs? You would. But at the same time, 5
I
playoff
don't
points matters
know.
more.
I don't know because Priest has had so many races this year where he almost steals the win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's why I think you don't really think about those things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of all goes out the window. I mean, this is Joey Logano's best chance to win the trophy is to get 5 extra playoff points so he can make it to the next round and try to do what he did last year, win a race in the round of 8, win a race in the round of 4, and make Phoenix and win, or finish best of the 4 in Phoenix. Like I only team dynamic I feel that is really important is Hendrick getting Bowman in.
RCR.
And RCR team dynamic getting Kyle Busch in. I think those are the only ones that are like absolutely givens.
Mm-hmm. Not to overshadow, like obviously there's a lot of
Joe Gibbs Racing getting Ty Gibbs in. As long as it's not at the expense of Reddick, I guess. But even then, that's still technically a different team is Reddick versus Ty Gibbs. So I think JGR getting Ty Gibbs in is a focus. I think Hendrick getting Bowman in is a focus. I think RCR getting Kyle Busch in is a focus. And honestly, I think everything else is kind of every man for himself-ish. Maybe Trackhouse tries to get Daniel Suarez in. Maybe. Probably not.
Is he the black sheep in that organization?
Like,
yeah. So you brought up a good point with JGR that I'm glad you did. Because one thing we've seen extensively in the next gen era at super speedways is Toyotas work together. It is the Toyota camp versus everybody else. They always pit together. They're always running together. And that kind of, can determine and affect the way that this race plays out. But it doesn't overshadow the fact that super speedway racing, there's always potential for this race to be awesome. It's a cutoff race. It's typically chaotic. Does not overshadow the fact that this also has a significant chance of being a dud because of what super speedway racing is with this next gen car. And
I think it's super lessened by the situation here and by potential rain in the forecast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Florida in August. There's definitely that. I alluded to it earlier. I'm going to pull up the weather forecast now.
It is like, the rain should potentially end right before the race, but if the forecast shifts a little bit and it's like later on Saturday, I mean, we could be seeing a race to halfway. And if that's the case, if it shifts later and we're seeing a race to halfway, how can the RFK cars even work together if you don't know when the race is going to be over?
Yeah. At that point,
we could see
you're going balls to the wall no matter what.
There's a chance. It might be 10%, it might be 5%, it might be 25%, it might be 50%. I don't know. It depends on how the forecast shifts. But at this point in time, there is a non-zero chance we might be seeing a race to halfway or a little past halfway or whenever the rain hits past halfway, which would make the lead up to halfway and everything past halfway intense as fuck.
Insane.
Right? Yeah.
Because we've seen races at Daytona where everybody's fuel saving, but BJ McLeod's going full balls to the wall and leading the fucking race.
Yep.
Does that aspect come into again? What's that one meme or whatever? Leroy Jenkins. Yeah. That's what reminds me. BJ McLeod is Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Jenkins.
And stage 1, that's all fine because it doesn't matter until you get close to halfway. The race is official at halfway, but when you're close to halfway, you want to be positioned in the front in case it rains right at halfway, right? So, I mean, there's a chance this race gets chaotic as shit. And even then, we still have every driver in the field having a good reason to win, except maybe Tyler Reddick. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's playoff points or to get yourselves into the playoffs. or to prevent a new playoff winner in the case of Alex Bowman, a new winner kicking you out of the playoffs in case of Alex Bowman. There's probably, aside from, even if Austin Hill, even if Kyle Busch wrecks out, there's 39 drivers at minimum that have a good reason to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be wild. It's going to be good. As far as the races at Daytona in the next gen era, I said the winners before, but it's a lot of the same guys that typically run up front. We should see Penske run up front. We saw it at Talladega. Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, they're 1-2 when it comes to average driver rating in this car. Surprisingly, well, not really surprisingly, but somewhat surprisingly, Chris Buescher's number 3. We've seen Kyle Busch run really well here, which, like you said, that team's going to be focused on getting in. We've seen Byron's been great on super speedways in this next gen car. Yeah. I forget the stat that iFantasy Race tweeted earlier this week, but it stuck with me. That Byron is like even better than I thought he was as far as getting finishes. Very good here. But you mentioned Ty Dillon, your deep sleeper. You have any other deep sleepers you like that kind of stick out more than just if this is chaotic, this guy can win it?
Cole Custer almost won the Daytona 500.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Bell couldn't take a push, and then the whole field wrecked and all that stuff. But Cole Custer was in contention to win the Daytona 500. Todd Gilliland's always been in the mix in these.
I think Nemechek has had really good runs.
Yeah, John Hunter Nemechek, I love him. He's had a great super speedway record. So I'm picking off the best lines that I can pick off when I see them. So, the 4 bets I've made are the 4 I tracked in the Action app in terms of outrights. But then my other bet that I tracked, and then I just tracked a bunch of BJ McLeod and Cody Ware bets at FanDuel because FanDuel posted fucked up lines for top 10 and top 5. But aside from those, I gave this out on Running Hot, and there's still fucking amazing lines out there. Most laps led by any driver. Caesars is down to 41.5 minus 125. It was 43.5 minus 115. Bet 365 is down to 42.5 minus 120. There it was 44.5 minus 115. It was minus 130 by the time the show dropped. And ESPN bet is still 43.5 minus 125. So clearly the best line still. One driver has led more than 43.5 laps in a Daytona cutoff or 25, 26th race of the season race since 2020. There's been 5 of them. So only one driver has done this in 5 races. 4 of the times it's gone under. And in 4 of those races, it's actually gone to overtime where we've gone beyond the 160 laps.
Mm-hmm.
And this one could potentially be shortened. And if it's not shortened, but there's still the threat of rain, it's going to be everybody trying to grab the lead and whenever, just in case the rain hits. And in the next gen car, nobody wants to lead because they all want to save fuel. You don't want to lead for 40 laps. You want to lead for a little bit, see how your car is, and then get back into line a little bit and save fuel. Because if you're sitting 11, 12 seconds on pit road and everybody else is 9 seconds, 8 seconds on pit road because they don't have to fill up, all of a sudden you're at the tail end of the field and then you don't have track position, you're fucked. Nobody wants to lead this race that much. So under 43.5 minus 125 right now at ESPN Bet is the best bet on the board, period.
I'm going to have to bet that right now.
The median in this race is 36. Right? The average is 43.5 because Chase Briscoe led 67 that one race, but the other 4 results are 37, 36, 34, 31 for the most laps anybody has led. So books were setting a line based off the average, not the median. And the median is the 50-50 result. And I think this has the potential to be maybe the lowest median of all time. My simulations make it 36.5 as if you were to get it at even money, 36.5. 37.5 minus 115 on the under.
And ESPN bet right now is at 43
and a half minus 125.
And I officially bet it. That place. What do you think about number of drivers to lead a lap? 17 and a half is that line.
I didn't really get an edge there. I would lean towards the over, but I mean, it's a small lean.
At Talladega, there was 23 lap leaders.
Yeah. That's 188 laps?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is only 400 laps, isn't it?
This is only 160 laps, yeah.
In
regulation.
Miles, sorry.
Yeah, only 160 laps regulation.
Yeah, Daytona 500 had 16 or 17 lap leaders, so and that has that extra.
But yeah, I would lean over like 17 and a half, but it's kind of a lean. I mean, if you have ESPN bet and you don't bet under 43 and a half minus 125, you're throwing away like 30-40% EV, expected ROI. No, I'm not saying throwing away. I mean, 0 is 0 if you're not betting it, But the point is, I have massive ROI on the under here at 43 and a half. It could lose. Every bet could lose. But this is one of the better bets of the season. That's why I did to win 1.5 units on it in the app. It is something we have a little parlance in the Action Network Discord that I would call a Z unit bet, where Z is whatever units you want to put on it with responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're
like
Ryan Blaney top 10 at Martinsville.
Don't remind me, Nick. We don't talk about that day.
We can whine about that one. I have the passion. Purple. I'm gonna pour some right now. Get your RotoBaller wines. By the way, Jordan, you see the Truck Series is going to be racing at St. Pete?
I did not see that. I didn't really pay attention.
Same
to the
weekend as
releases.
IndyCar.
The same weekend?
Yep.
How the hell is that going to work?
They've done it before. They've done it. Indy road course. They did it. Yeah, they'll have the trucks probably on Saturday and Indy on Sunday. But now I get to go and see my two favorite drivers in one weekend, Stephen Malazzi and Kyle Kirkwood.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Well, the hope is we can get Stephen Malazzi in the show, but we'll see. But yeah, may have to work out something there. But by the way, Stephen Malazzi owes me some Outback still. He promised to take me at Outback, and then he bailed on Vegas the time he was supposed to, and then I bailed on one of the ones I was supposed to go see him. All for good reasons, nothing bad, just actual legitimate reasons. But I still need to actually go to a race Malazzi's in, or at least, even if he's not in the race, go for a weekend to hang out with him and see him and Kyle Kirkwood.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very strong feeling I will be at St. Pete.
Nice. Hell yeah. Let's see.
I'll tell you who's going to race there. The perfect thing is for Colton Herta to race the Spire Gainbridge truck at St. Pete. I've always talked about that Andretti Spire connection. Same ownership. Gainbridge. Throw Colton Herta in the truck. He's already there, right? Throw Colton in that extra Spire truck.
What do you think the chances of that actually happening are, though?
25%? That's a guess. That's a guess. It's definitely more than 0.
Yeah.
Colton Herta has actually tried to get in that truck before for like funsie when they were at an oval at one point. I think it was Michigan when both those teams were there.
Nice. All right. You got anything else from Daytona? Before Daytona?
Yes. The maximum win percentage I have in my model.
There we go.
We have to do this every time because people keep betting these odds that are way too short at these chaos races. My maximum percentage is 6.27% on Ryan Blaney. He is number 1 in my model to win this race. But if I do that in terms of betting odds, that's 15-1. So you cannot bet a driver shorter than 15-1. And even if you're betting Ryan Blaney at 15-1, that's break even, right? So you need at least 16-1 to bet a driver, at least. And we talk about this every Daytona chaos race. And I'm being a little generous because I have slightly included some Talladega into this as far as finishing results. Now I'm also including Atlanta in terms of like drafting performance, but I'm not modeling finishing position based off Atlanta. But I did include a little tiny bit of Talladega in there for finishing position. Now, in terms of performance, I'm using all super speedway data, but the point is you can't bet anybody shorter than 16-1. You just cannot do it. It doesn't happen. You could add up the best, Logano, Cindric, Blaney, Byron, Elliott. If you just take those 5 in the next gen era or in the however last long, let's say since we went to the tapered spacer after the Daytona 500 in 2019, they don't win 1 in 16. So you could lump Keselowski in there, but it's not possible to bet an elite driver at anything shorter than 16-1. But that cascades down, right? I mean, I have Blaney, Logano, Cindric, Byron, and Elliott as my top 5. But the 6th best driver is 5% to win, which is, 19-20-1. So if you think Keselowski's the 6th best driver, if you put him right there, you cannot bet Keselowski shorter than 20-1. Or if you think he's better, you still can't bet him better than 16-1. If you think Chris Buescher is the 6th best driver, you can't bet him shorter. You can't bet him at 20-1. I mean, that's basically break even. But you get the point. Like, it's so hard to bet these super short favorites because this is pure chaos. And you mentioned that in the winners. I mean, we've seen Harrison Burton, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, right? We're talking winners that are kind of mixed up. And yeah, I mean, maybe half the time an elite driver wins, but if 50% of the time one of the 6 best driver wins, then they're only winning 1 out of every 12. So it's just not possible to, and that, I mean, that would be 11-1 as break even, but then that's still being generous because there's probably more than just 6 elite drivers. So, if you want to throw Denny Hamlin in there or a Brad, because like I said, Keselowski or some of these other guys, it's just not possible to bet these guys at anything shorter than 15-1, 16-1, and some of the second tier drivers at anything shorter than 20-1.
Yeah, and it comes down to Daytona and a lot of these super speedway races. I don't see a point outside of super long shots that are mispriced or look a little mispriced. Betting them early because you can basically get the same odds on these guys during the race, and it could be after a big wreck that takes out half the field. Why are again, this is just my betting philosophy at Daytona and Talladega. I just don't bet early week with this race. I don't want to. If I'm going to bet it, I'm going to watch live lines during the race and go that way. That's me.
Yeah, there's certainly that, but I mean, I think at open you can take advantage of a lot of lines that are
and that's what I was talking about with mispriced lines and stuff like that.
Sure.
No issue there with
but once the lines have kind of settled in and baked in, I agree with you. I think it's pretty tough to bet once you get to midweek and beyond until live betting. Practice and qualifying is going to mean nothing. I mean, well, it's not practice, but qualifying is going to mean nothing. If you see lines change after qualifying and there's immediate misprices after qualifying, that's another spot to bet. But again, that's opening lines right after an event or right after something. So, I mean, let me go down to my model here. I have BJ McLeod top 10 odds at 15%, right? BJ McLeod's odds of finishing the top 10 are 15%. And again, I'm baking in a tiny bit of Talladega. If we remove Talladega, if we remove the old Daytona when it was the 16th or 17th or 18th race of the season and we didn't have the winning in, that kind of stuff. I mean, these odds should be even higher. BJ McLeod has finished 9th and 7th, 23rd, 19th, and he didn't race the 2020 cutoff. So in his 4 races in the Daytona cutoff race, he's finished in the top 10 twice, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
He's 50% top 10. And I have him 15% because, I mean, that's just, you can't model BJ McLeod 50%, but the way the statistics and data and all that stuff line up, he's 15% to finish in the top 10. And I mean, if you look at FanDuel right now, FanDuel finally reposted their top 10 odds. He's 12-1. I like that at 12-1 for BJ McLeod. Cody Ware's 7-1 at FanDuel. Cody Ware has finished fourth and sixth in this race in the next gen era.
Yep.
I have Cody Ware 16.5% to finish top 10. I mean, that's like 5-1 or something. He's 7-1 at FanDuel. You just, there's early week value, and this is and again, I'm including Talladega a little bit in this. So it's actually, these odds are probably even higher for these guys to finish in the top 10. And the 15-1 or the 16-1 for the absolute best drivers, it's probably a little generous. It probably should be more like 17 or 18-1. And these Buescher, Bubba Wallace tier should be more like 23, 24, 25-1 as the best possible number you can bet them at.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the long shots for top 10. So like McLeod's sitting there at 12-1 on FanDuel. Cody Ware's at 7-1. We also have a couple other shit boxes in this race, and Casey Mears and Joey Gase. Gase is going to be in that 44 car, and Mears is in the 66. Are those worth a sprinkle at 27-1? Me, I say no.
I actually think yes. And the reason why, $1 million parlay winner.
Yeah.
We had David Reagan in a Rick Ware car back when Rick Ware wasn't as good. BJ McLeod in a Live Fast Motorsports back when they weren't as good. Cody Ware in a Rick Ware car, again, back when Rick Ware wasn't good. And Landon Castle in a Spire Motorsports car back when that was essentially a shitbox. 4 finished in the top 10. If we get a cataclysmic event,
rain in turn 1 again.
Yeah, rain in turn. Even then, I mean, it's probably a no in all realistic sense. But I have better than 27-1 on these guys to finish in the top 10 just from a modeling sense. I haven't bet it. I haven't tracked it. I'm just saying what my model says. Plus, again, I'm including a little bit of Talladega in the model. All it needs to do is, let me pull up the odds, happen 3.5% of the time. You think these guys can finish top 10 3.5% of the time in a pure chaos race?
I think my hesitation with the 66 is that car is just always so far off the pace that I don't even see him staying on the lead lap, and then it's going to take multiple chaos events just for him to get on the lead lap, not to mention the top 10.
I mean,
but the 44 car, which is what Gase is driving this week, I mean, that car led 2 laps at Talladega.
Yeah, but I don't think the 66 is that far off at a super speedway. Purely at a super speedway. And if they're so far off, that's a good thing if the whole field wrecks.
Why can't I find the 66 on here?
The driver who drove the 66 last time was David Starr. Like, I can't count that.
yeah, that doesn't get counted ever.
Right? But, I mean, and the only other time the 66 has been driven in the next gen era was JJ Yaley at Talladega, which, again, is not a pure chaos race. Finished 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Had 3 fastest laps, led a lap. Finished 3
maybe
laps
I'm
down.
overthinking
Finished
that.
3 laps down, but probably because, the 66 is the 66, and there's always the chance of fucking up a pit stop or something. But if you're able to be on the lead lap, if this race is chaotic enough, you're going to get enough waiver rounds or free passes to be on the lead lap.
Am I the only? Are you as shocked as me that 66 hasn't ran a super speedway race in the next gen era?
Yeah, I am, honestly.
You'd think that if there's any
one.
race that they're going to run, it's these.
Yeah, just the one, but I don't know. Maybe they don't want to wreck out all their cars.
That could be it too. Yeah. So maybe they're confident enough in their their
financial situation or something.
Yeah, that they can race this.
And
Chandler Smith
honestly, they've run a lot of
66
races the last 2 years. They might be in a spot where financially, they're at a point where they can do that. They've run 24 races between this year and last.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I will end up betting those 27-1 just to have some action. $10 on it to win.
Yeah, and again, I haven't bet them. I'm just making the argument for why I actually don't hate those bets.
Plus, not to mention, it's always fun betting on shit boxes. It's like what was that race we had the shitbox special this year? Was it
exactly.
600? That was awesome. I love that.
I'm sure you can do the parlays. Oh, no parlays allowed at DK for top 10s in this race.
Yep, they stopped it. Unfortunately.
Lame.
Yep.
Well, you know why? It's because our podcast helped break that.
Absolutely.
Helped. A full credit to the $1 million parlay winner. I mean, he put it all together. But he cited both me and you as the reasons why. It was a genius move, and now he has $1 million.
Exactly.
After, I should say, before taxes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't get me started. People that complain about having to pay taxes after winning.
Well, that sucks for you because now you have to pay $500,000 in taxes. Okay, but I still have $500,000 now.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Man.
All right. I'd love to win $1 million and pay $500,000 in taxes. Let me tell you.
Yes. I dream of that every night. I dream of paying $500,000 in taxes.
Same.
All right. Anything else from Daytona before we get to our picks?
Nah.
All right. Picks to win. As I said earlier, I did not stick with my gut last week. I went with Denny Hamlin. He finished 10th. You went with Joey Logano. He finished 4th. That was a solid pick with Logano, especially with how bad that car looked in practice. And then
the thing about practice was they had a tire going down the whole time.
Yep.
So that practice was completely non-representative. And again, that's the limitations of practice. Things change going into the race,
As far as our picks to win, I am now on a 7 race streak of top 10 finishes. I'm closing the gap on our average finish. I'm at 13.28. You're at 12.58. I know you usually do the random.org for this one. I've just been throwing random guys in my head all week. John Hunter Nemechek is my pick to win the Daytona cutoff race.
I feel like I had John Hunter Nemechek as my pick, like for one of the other Daytona ones, either this year or last.
You had him at Talladega this year.
Yeah.
The only Talladega race. He finished 30th.
So, I mean, I could record this again on my phone, but I know y'all trust me that I literally just always pick the first one I get. But I'm going to record it anyway. I have 1 to 100. If I land on a non-numbered driver, I'll just regenerate. 96 is nothing. 75 is nothing. 95 is nothing. 34. Gilly gang.
Gilly.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Ty Gillen's my pick to win.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Awesome.
I like that. And when we talk about the bets I haven't made yet this week, that one might be coming.
Gilly pole?
No, not pole. Screw pole bets.
All right, you got Todd Gilliland. I got John Hunter Nemechek. We're going underdogs this week for the Daytona cutoff race. 36-36. I widened the gap a little bit last week.
Yeah, dude, Richmond. 36 for 36 has not gone well for me.
It has not. You had Hamlin last week, got 35 points out of him, but obviously not his typical performance at Richmond. I got 54 points out of Austin Dillon at Richmond. That's a big race. 686 now for me for the year, 618 for you. I basically have 3 guys left that I need to that I don't really know where to use them, but I got to use them somewhere. And that is Riley Herbst in the 35. I got Zane Smith in the 38. And I got Noah Gragson in the 4. I think Zane Smith has the most upside on a week-to-week basis out of those 3, so I'm not going to take him here. I do consider Gragson. Could consider, but I think he has a little bit more upside than Herbst, so I'm going Herbst here. Number 35 for Daytona-2. Yep, there we go.
Short and sweet. I would pick Herbst, but I got to be different to have a chance of catching up. So give me Ty Dillon.
I like it. Oop, hit that wrong button there. Yeah, you've been talking about Ty Dillon all episode, so that's just a full circle thing there. So,
yep.
Let me go. So if Toyotas have a good race, I'm going to have a good race, and we'll see how you do with Ty Dillon. Where did I use Ty at? Oh, I used him in Daytona 500. Got 23 points out of him there. So we'll see if you can do better than that this time. All right. I got my official 36 for 36 locked in there on the NASCAR website. And DraftKings, which is going to be fun. Or not fun, but something, we typically talk about the strategy of how to build a DFS lineup this week. So we can go over that a little bit as we randomly pick our guys. Because obviously, starting position is the only thing that matters this week. It's not the drivers. It's not the salaries. It's nothing like that. It is starting position and that only when it comes to Daytona. Let me throw this up here. Share my screen. Okay, last week, I took the lead in our head-to-head this week with the way too early DraftKings picks. I had 294.45. You had 204.05. I now lead 2870 to 2870.15 to your 2782.7. So I got an 87.45 point advantage over the 24 races that we've done this. This is a week that we could end up with negative point. One of us could end up with hundreds of points. One of us could end up with negative points. This could be a huge swing in these standings. So I think last time I closed my eyes and did the picks. I'll do my picks and then we'll talk a little bit about strategy before you do yours. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
So instead of randomly picking these, I'm going to all right, I'm going Stenhouse. Typically doesn't qualify well. Obviously has the upside.
Yep.
Let me see here. I'm going to end up overthinking this. I'm going to go SVG. It's got a gut feeling about him. Austin Hill, again, don't think he's going to qualify well. That
I disagree with that. I think he's qualified just fine.
Those
RCR cars are good qualifiers.
Could be wrong. I'm going to go Riley Herbst just because I have him in 36 for 36, so I might as well throw him on here too. And then give me I kind of want to stay away from the Fords just because their qualifying is so good. Give me Alex Bowman.
That's a wild one.
I know, right? And then
the 5 or 6 times in a row front row starter at the Daytona 500.
Yep. I'm living life on the edge this week, man.
You are.
And then give me this is tough. Give me I'm gonna go. I don't know. I just have this kind of weird gut feeling about Ross Chastain this week. It feels like a weird Ross Chastain week. So give me Ross Chastain. So I'm gonna go.
That's really funny. That is really funny.
Why?
Because I have the other Trackhouse car. I have Suarez.
Do you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I already have my lineup made. I have Suarez.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm going Chastain, Bowman, SVG, Stenhouse, Riley Herbst, and Austin Hill. One of the most random lineups I've put
you got the other 2 Trackhouses. I got the one they should be pushing to the win.
All right. There we go. You want to talk strategy first, or you just want to do your lineup and then
Let's just do it. Suarez.
All right.
Trackhouse cars qualify like shit here.
Yep.
He's the one they should be pushing the win. Stenhouse. Qualify like shit here.
Yep.
Toyotas qualify like shit. Give me Gibbs and Herbst. Gibbs, they should be pushing the win. And Riley Herbst is going to start in the back, probably.
Yep.
Give me BJ McLeod and Cody Ware.
Oh, I didn't even think about the shit boxes. Why did I? Oh, I'm so pissed at myself. I'm so used to other weeks where we're just like focusing on legitimate guys. Damn it. All right. No, I like your lineup heading into it. Like with that before practice or before qualifying, there is no practice this week. Before qualifying, I like yours a hell of a lot better than I like mine. So
we know they're going to be starting in the back. So
yep.
The questionable one is Cody Ware. I mean, that Ford power, you never know. He could start like 28th.
All right. Strategy.
Well,
let's go over
I don't
some
see a
keys.
reason for BJ McLeod and Cody Ware in stage 3 to be running in the thick of the pack. Maybe stages 1 or 2, to get that TV time, lap led, whatever, everybody's fuel saving. But even then,
see how their car actually works in traffic.
Yep, in various areas. But stage 3, ride in the back. Stenhouse qualified in the back. He's pretty much just been exclusively qualifying in the back in super speedways lately. Toyota, we know they're the worst of the 3 manufacturers in qualifying. So Gibbs and Herbst. I can saying Gibbs and Herbst. Gibbs and Herbst. And again, Trackhouse has not qualified well at these races lately. I like the Chastain
or just overall.
I like the Chastain pick better than the Suarez pick on raw like starting spot because I think Suarez has been starting better, but Suarez is the guy that needs to win, right? And like theoretically, SVG and Ross should be helping Suarez theoretically from the team perspective, but like you said, there's always the chance that they just say fuck it because Trackhouse cutting ways with Suarez after the season.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea, especially in this race, is stack the fucking back. There's no reason in a 160 lap. This is the lowest lap number race of all the super speedway races this year. Okay. Do not play the guys starting up front.
Under no circumstance, no.
And it's the most chaotic one. More chaotic than the Daytona 500. And there's rain in the forecast, possibly. Under no circumstances do you play the front handful of cars. If you get burned, you get burned. If somehow first through sixth finishes first through sixth, whatever. That's never been happened before. There is an infinitesimally small chance a bunch of cars starting in the front, finishing the optimal lineup. Just don't play them. That's the strategy this week. It's the fucking chaos race. If you played BJ McLeod, Landon Castle, Cody Ware, and David Reagan in 2022, you cleaned up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Harrison Burton won this race last year.
Yeah.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can win this race starting from 34th or whatever, 32nd or 31st, wherever he tends to start these days at these super speedway races. Why the hell are you playing Austin Cindric, who starts 8th? There's no reason to. Could he win it? Sure, of course. But odds dictate. Honestly, if anything, yeah, he might try to grab a win and grab some state or some playoff points. But again, is there a non-zero chance he pushes another forward to a win? Yeah, absolutely. And if you're starting far enough forward, you probably need to win or at worst finish second. Like, there's so much strategy here. This is I'm going to be max entering this race.
We also have a full field. There's 40 cars entered, so 40 drivers, and that opens up the value or the chance to be overexposed to some of those guys in the mid 20s because people are so obsessed with stack the back's a great strategy. It's the strategy to have, but don't forget about those guys. I'm thinking like 22nd to 28th, 22nd to 29th. Those guys typically go under-owned. If you look at the historical ownership percentages of just starting positions, outside of big name drivers like a Denny Hamlin starting 29th, the normal guys that aren't the favorites to win starting there, they always go so under-owned. And all of them, just overexpose yourself on them. It's the way to go because the upside is still there. Obviously not as good as someone starting 35th, but it's the upside's still there. You know, starting 29th, finishing 10th, that's 19 place differential points. So, yeah.
Yep.
Don't bet the names, bet the starting positions. If these are the Epstein files, just redact all the names when you're making your lineups.
Right? Yeah. Don't care about names. Don't care about salaries. This is a pure strategy race. And when I say strategy, I'm talking ownership leverage and starting position.
Yep.
And again, strategy. Like, I think the worst play on the board might be, this is a kind of a hot take, even if he starts like 23rd, 24th, which is a Toyota, because we know they haven't been the best. Christopher Bell might be the worst play on the board. You want to know why?
Why?
That car could not take a push in the Daytona 500. That car got fucked like 3 times when anybody tried to just bump him slightly aggressively. Thing was shooting up to the outside wall or wrecking. And he's made a bunch of mistakes at super speedways over pushing. So I might go 0% Christopher Bell.
I want to see that. I want to see him qualify like 30th and you go 0% on him.
I might.
That would be a hell of a stand.
I don't know if I will. Like, I'll probably chicken out on when push comes to shove and have like 15%. But
right.
Legitimately, I think Christopher Bell might be the worst play on the board. And that's just thinking through things. He also has no reason to win. He would rather push Ty Gibbs to the win for his company. I mean, he has reason to win. Yeah, 5 playoff points, right? That kind of stuff. But I honestly think Joe Gibbs Racing is focused on getting Ty Gibbs in the playoffs. So there's those kinds of strategies as well. Do you fade a little bit of Hendrick Motorsports other than Bowman? Do you fade a little bit? I'm not saying complete fades, but underweights on those guys. Are you underweight on JGR minus Ty Gibbs? Are you underweight on RCR minus Kyle Busch? Are you underweight on Trackhouse minus Daniel Suarez? That kind of stuff.
So with this being a cutoff race, I think this brings up a good point because we've talked about correlations before when building DFS lineups. With Toyota being so committed to each other, do you have to increase the correlation with your DFS lineups with Toyotas specifically?
Yes, if they're in your lineup, increase them. If they're not in your lineup, decrease them kind of thing, right? Like, yes, I think you do. More so than the Daytona 500. Daytona 500, there's not the incentive to get a teammate in or whatever. You're not pushing. For the Daytona 500, Christopher Bell's not pushing Ty Gibbs to the win. He's pushing him to turn 3 and then trying to make a move on him in 3 and 4 in the back straight. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's slightly less correlation in Daytona than there is here for certain teams and drivers. I'm not saying for everyone, for certain teams and drivers. There are certain correlations that are inflated here, both in the positive and negative direction. Or I should say just the correlation is increased. If you're going to be awesome, you're going to be awesome together. If you're going to be bad, you're going to be bad together. Kind of deal.
Any other tricks up your sleeve, Mr. Super Speedway DFS Master?
Go overweight on Casey Mears, on Joey Gase, on BJ McLeod, on Cody Ware. It's not going to feel good, but you have to.
Because those guys, I mean, I don't have this year's ownerships in front of me offhand, but they're never as high as they should be for guys starting 40th.
Pay attention to the weather too. If the weather looks like it's just going to clear up, let's say the race is started with a delay, but then it's going to be fine after that. That reduces the chaos a little bit. But I mean, if we get an event where rain could hit any point later in the race, that increases the chaos. It increases the total number of laps, which again reduces any kind of fastest lap led stuff, renders all of that useless. And really, really throws things into just mass aggression.
It's going to be a good one. Unfortunately, I mean, the big GPP on DraftKings is still $50K to first. They cut it down a little bit these last few weeks, but still a big prize there if you're going to end up.
Overweight and Ty Dillon. Honestly, the colleague and RCR cars qualify well. Go overweight on Ty Dillon. Even if he starts like 18th, 19th, go overweight on him. Austin Dillon would rather push his brother into the playoffs than get 5 extra playoff points. I can promise you that.
That'd be cool to see. It's going to be a fun race. All right.
Oh, did we talk about this? Yeah, Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman. If they start mid-pack and back, positively correlate them. Tyler Reddick would love to push Alex Bowman to a win. I wouldn't say go crazy, like a 5% positive correlation or something, Not like you would do with teammates where it's like 10, 15, 20, 25%, whatever you end up choosing if you're using Fantasy Labs optimizer. But little bit of correlation between Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman.
That's another hot take this week, I think, because a lot of people aren't going to be thinking about it that way.
So, yep, just some thoughts on
so many scenarios to play out that could play out this week.
Yeah,
but Coke Zero Sugar 400 on Saturday night, closing out the regular season. And then we got 10 more races to determine a championship or a champion.
The other hot take I have is I love the Fantasy Labs optimizer. I might hand build 50 lineups this weekend. Usually I just go straight optimizer. I might hand build 50, 100 lineups this weekend.
Well, I saw.
Because I think it's so like Fantasy Labs does great with the correlations. It does great with all the rules and stuff, but it's still really hard to just have everything magically fall into place over 150 lineups where you have the right number of correlated lineups between drivers and stuff. Like, you almost have to keep track of that by hand.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately, I might build 50, 100 of my 150 lineups by hand. And that's just for the big GPP. I'll probably play a bunch of other GPPs too. I don't know. It all could change on qualifying. If Tyler Reddick is 30th and Alex Bowman's 5th, that doesn't make any more sense.
Right.
So, just food for thought. Read our articles, yours, mine. We're good at this stuff.
And at the end of the day, also use your own judgment. There's a lot of randomness that goes into this race. And
by the way, so in the Action Network Discord, we have somebody who, which is a little redundant because if you use the Action Network app, everything is in there anyway, and they're using our Action Network app results to pull off the tracking that they're doing. But we have a third-party tracker, even though the Action Network app is also a tracker. Let's get off the stuff there, Mr. Cat. But for NASCAR, you have the highest ROI among the tracked experts at 32.3% over 114 bets tracked in the app. And then Chase Holden, formerly of the Garage Guys, he only has 19 bets tracked. But then me, I have 322 bets tracked. So it's almost 3 times your bets tracked at 10.9% ROI. But given the fact that I have 3 times more bets and you multiply my ROI by 3, it's basically the same as yours. We're probably doing pretty much the same on actual amount won if you scale to a unit size. Mm-hmm. So we're kicking ass this year, dude. And the only other little brag I got is my IndyCar bets are 50% ROI on 62 bets.
Jesus. Absolutely crushing that.
Yeah. So it's been a good motorsports betting. You remember I was down in the hole like right before the Memorial Day weekend? I have won all but 2 weeks since then. I told you I'm feeling great about this year.
Absolutely.
It can all change. It can all tank in the last 11 races of the season, but feeling good.
Yeah.
Good. And you're doing a great job as well. So make sure you listen to Stacking Dennys.
Right? Yeah. Pay attention to everything Nick has. Follow us both on the Action app. My stuff's at RotoBaller. Nick is on Fantasy Labs and Action Network. And yeah. I think this is going to be another good year of us making money.
Absolutely.
People. So, which is always the goal to start out.
Especially after last year, I had my second losing year ever. And I'm feeling great that, things are back in the positive direction as they should be. I mean, you can bet any sport and be a winning bettor and have a losing year. It's just you can't keep having losing years and losing years and losing years and losing years because then you're not a winning bettor.
Exactly. Yep. That's a good way to put that.
Yeah. But over a small sample size. And 1 year is a small sample size when you think about it, especially in NASCAR betting where things are so swingy. 1 year is a small sample size, but I mean, I had a losing college basketball year. That's never happened to me until this past year. It happens. People will have losing years, and you have to understand the variance of sports betting. The landscape always changes, but I think the good thing is both you and we've both been doing this since NASCAR DFS started a decade ago. We've both been constantly positive over a decade.
Absolutely. And one thing you mentioned the variance. I mean, this last weekend was a great example. Bubba Wallace, best car in the race. Mm-hmm. We were both on him, and his team doesn't put the tire on. Like, it's stuff like that. And obviously it can swing the other way. Like, we can get lucky with I've
Sure.
had it happen before.
I thought I was super lucky at Iowa this year.
Yeah.
I think that was my luckiest race in a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With Bowman, that was one of my bigger bets of the year. Bowman top 10 at
Priest
Iowa.
top 10.
So, yeah,
that was super lucky. He was garbage all race and then finished top 10. But that's the whole point, is like when you're on a huge, massive bad luck streak like I was last year and the beginning of this year, luck balances out. That's the whole point behind the luck rankings, the NFL luck rankings I do, is books over adjust for luck. They over adjust for luck, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's NFL, whether it's whatever. And you have to ride out the bad luck wave and trust the process. And yes, there were times I made bad bets last year. I think more than any year I've ever had, which contributed to it. But I was committed to A, admitting that and finding that and evaluating that, and B, improving on that, and C, trusting the process. Just because I started unlucky this year didn't mean I had a bad process. It meant I was unlucky this year. And I was super unlucky. And we talked about this. There was times I was betting on the fastest car and he'd blow a tire with taking the race lead, Brad Keselowski at Kansas, taking the race lead at 50-1 to win. If you bet on the fastest car at 50-1, that's a good bet, regardless of whether the bet wins or not. You know? So it's just one of those things where you have to reevaluate. And we did. Like, part of running hot is reevaluating the whole process. Instead of giving 4 bets out on a Thursday where lines are stale and we're giving out 4 bets, we're giving out 2 bets on a Wednesday when I know the pod came out on Thursday until the last week or two, but as far as us recording it, we're giving out 2 bets when lines are a little less sharp at that point. So, even that was part of the process adjustment. So, I just think like you and I are doing such an awesome job that we should be proud of ourselves. And if you're a listener of this podcast, we hope that you have done well as well.
Absolutely.
That's all I got.
Cheers to continue that going for the rest of the year.
Let's go. Hey, I'm gonna drink straight from the bottle here.
Oh yeah. As always, thank you to RotoBaller Winery for sponsoring this podcast. Business. Thank you all for tuning in and enjoy this race this weekend.
We got the Southern 500 next week. Let's go.
We got some good stuff coming up. So
yeah, we did.
All right. Thank you all. Good luck this weekend.
Josh Berry next week.
See you all.